another edition of Raising the Bar. I'm your host, Alan Pickert. Today we have a very special guest. As many of you know, Terrell Hogan Law is considered one of the premier boutique all-purpose litigation firms in the entire state of Florida. They have offices in Georgia and Texas as well, and they've been in existence for over 50 years. Today we have the Jim Terrell, the original creator of Terrell Hogan Law, and who is still practicing to this day. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan.
So Jim, how did you get into the practice of law?
I decided early that I needed to have an inside job. I had hot jobs in the summers working my way through college. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but my uncle, my favorite uncle, who was a family practitioner in Bessemer, Alabama, happened to be the one that delivered Bo Jackson, by the way. Took me to a birthing. I did well until the afterbirth, and then I thought, this is not for me. So I did well in college in history, and my advisor said, you make a good lawyer.
Now you started out actually on the defense side before switching to the plaintiff side, didn't you?
I went to college, went to law school, went to the Army for 2 years, and came back and went to work in Jacksonville, my hometown, for a defense firm. Did that for 3 years, and decided I liked it better on the other side. I had a case once that I represented a taxi driver who rear-ended another car, and the passenger was hurt. The lawyer that represented the passenger did a horrible job, and I won the case. And I felt bad about that. And I said, I don't like this side. I don't like working for insurance companies where I try to keep people from getting compensation. So a law school pal of mine, Tom Brown, and I started the firm 50 years ago.
1974, correct?
1974.
Okay. So I have had the privilege of seeing you in a courtroom several times, and you are about as smooth as anybody I've ever seen in front of the jury. What do you do to get prepared for trial?
It's a combination of things. If you've done your homework, which means try to figure out everything that's going to happen in the case and be prepared for if it does. If it doesn't, that's fine. If it does, then you're prepared, so you don't have to worry. But you have to prepare your witnesses. You have to prepare your case law. You have to know the judge. And you have to anticipate what the other side may do and be ready for it.
Well, you've had an incredible track record, but you are still practicing law to this day, correct?
Well, define practice. I have a great schedule for me. What a coincidence. The golf course where I play is closed on Mondays, so I usually come in on Mondays. But I have a great firm. Our partners are terrific people. The staff is great. And I enjoy still kicking the tires, so to speak. I haven't tried a case since before COVID, but I have a couple in the hopper that may go to trial, and I look forward to that. The trial is like if you're a sports nut, which I am, you practice, and then you get the game. The trial is the game.
Well, that didn't work well for me because I'm actually decent on the golf range, and on the golf course, as you have witnessed, I am not at all. So what kind of practices of law does your law firm Terrell Hogan have?
We represent people who have become injured in some way, medical malpractice, product liability, of course auto accidents, and we've recently added a business arm to our firm. But I've handled products, I've handled medical malpractice, I've had a mid-air collision case, I've had train accident cases. It's just almost every way you can imagine someone being injured, our firm has had the case.
Do you, I mean, I know you've had just literally thousands of cases that you've been successful with, but do you have one or two that stick out in your mind as a favorite?
I do. Sometimes the case brings about some social change beyond the compensation you're trying to get for your client. One that comes to mind for me is some years ago, Tim Ellis, who's now retired, and I represented a young man who was working the back end of a garbage truck early in the morning, and it was foggy, and the lady ran into him and and almost lost his leg. Should have probably lost his leg. She didn't see him, but she didn't have very much insurance, and his case was very, very, very important to me and to him. So we sued the Leach Corporation, which made the garbage truck. And back in the day, the lights, all that were required, but the lights were the ones where these kids stand while they're waiting to pick up the next can. And we thought, why not make it more visible? I hired a professor from MIT, and we built a mock-up of the back of a garbage truck with lights up top. And now, if you're on the street, I don't know if it's our case or another case, but they now all have lights where you can see them, and they're not blocked by the people that stand on the back of the truck.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So you probably saved countless lives just with that case alone.
I think we have prevented a lot of rear end accidents that the drivers couldn't see them because the workers were blocking the actual lights, the only lights that were there. So
you have a unique perspective to answer this following question, which 99% of the legal community does not, which is you have been active practicing law for 50 years now. How has the practice changed?
It has changed with the digital age. We can be in a faraway place and keep in touch with the client, keep in touch with the office, and practice without having to physically sit in the office with the client in front of you. Clients can keep in touch with email or text messages. We can do Zoom hearings now and Zoom depositions. None of that was available when I started. The other thing that has changed dramatically since I've been practicing is when I started, I could have my name on my business card, on the front door, and that was it. None of this television. We're the largest firm on the planet law practice.
Well, honestly, that's one of the reasons Terrell Hogan law is so well loved by many in the legal community and former clients, is because you do it the old-fashioned way, which is positive word of mouth, right? You don't do the TV advertisements or the big billboards.
And we get a lot of repeat clients who maybe not in for their second accident, but they've told a friend, they told a neighbor, they told someone who asked them, I need a lawyer, who should I call? That kind of stuff.
What do you do? I mean, you mentioned the golf course, but I mean, what do you do to kind of get away from the stress? Because I know when you have a case, you're basically saying to the client, let me take your problems as my own and let me see if I can resolve them for you. What do you do to kind of get away from that stress and pressure to just kind of decompress a little bit?
Well, I like to stay physically active. I have a bicycle that I ride occasionally. I go to the gym and push machines around and get on the stair monster, as I call it, and work up a good sweat.
Well, good.
I enjoy that, and I found that if you're physically fit, you don't get tired for a week-long trial, a 2-week trial, as you would if you weren't fit for.
Now, if a new client who's watching this today on TV or sees the show and they say, "Well, I want to talk to Jim about my case," it doesn't cost them anything, correct?
Not at all.
It's just a contingency fee. They can talk to you if you take the case. If you win, then you get a percentage of the winnings. But if you lose, it doesn't cost them a dime, right?
If we win, we get paid. If we don't win, we don't get paid, and the client does not incur any costs at all.
Wonderful. And they can reach you, obviously Googling your name, Jim Terrell, but the firm address is 233 East Bay Street, which is the old Blackstone building downtown.
Correct.
And am I correct that y'all the oldest tenants in that building?
I'm probably the oldest client in the oldest tenant personally in the building, and I think we are probably the oldest tenant.
Because you have the entire 8th floor of the Blackstone building.
We do, and we're undergoing some renovations now. I don't know if you saw it, but some couple of years ago we had an implosion of the old city hall, blew out a bunch of our windows, and the contractor that did that and the dynamite company refused to pay us what we thought was fair. So we took them to court, won a nice judgment, and now our windows look great. Looks like a new building.
Well, they didn't think that one through, did they?
No, no.
They caused damage to a law firm's business and think they're going to be able to get away with that.
They thought they would just replace the 19 windows they blew out and everything would be cool. But the building was old. You couldn't match the glass, and that was our argument to the jury. It didn't look like this when they started their demolition,
Right.
and we expect to be put back whole.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. And I know Terrell Hogan's number, I believe, is 904-632-2424.
Correct.
And Jim Terrell. And if someone calls asking for you, even though the name of the firm is Terrell Hogan, you'll talk to him.
I'll answer the phone.
Wonderful.
That's right.
Jim, thank you so much.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. This has been another edition of Raising the Bar. Have a good day now.